you ever felt.
Are you listening?
Hello and welcome to the Business of Influence podcast with me, Leroy Mark. It's proudly sponsored by Style ID Africa. It is the podcast where we give you the news, the views, the reviews, and the interviews, and everything you need to know about the world of influence marketing. Now, in today's episode, we have a wonderful guest in studio. Her name is Brenda Ule, and Brenda has seen campaigns go up and campaigns go down. Have you seen a campaign and you say, how did they get that out of the room? Was no one listening? We talk about campaigns that Shem have flopped and do a post-mortem on them so that brands can know how to not go down that route again. Stay tuned.
Hi everybody, my name is Brenda Ule. I am a global social media manager all the way from Ekonle, and I'm happy to be here and happy to yap.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Business of Influence podcast brought to you by Style ID Africa. My name is still Leroy Mark, still joined in studio by Brenda. Brenda, hello.
Hello.
Brenda and I are our best friends. We're in the dressing room. We found that we have a particular love for our homes.
Decorating, organizing, having my little twist spice rack.
And you know what, the spice rack, I need you to give me like details because
Sure.
I'm trying to do the same for my cosmetics. So all my little serums.
They have everything. I'll plug you.
So we've got a
I'll
date
let you know.
after this. But before we get to our conversation, Brenda, I see you've got your handbag next to you. Can you please just grab it for us?
Sure.
So we can have a quick little game because we like to see how our guests are
Let me know.
outside of the world.
Okay.
So please show us what you carry in your bag.
In my little black bag, I have lip gloss.
Always
Because I'm
important.
just a girl.
Tell me, do you have a preference for lip gloss versus lipstick?
No, I don't really.
Yeah.
I recently just got into it because I've never been like a girl.
Oh, yeah.
But like being around a lot of people are like, my
'Cause-
lips are chapped. I'm kind of crusty.
Put it in.
Now I'm here, you know. So I don't have a
Yesterday, someone said
preference.
to me, guys, actually, that there's you have a phase where you go lipstick, and then now we're back in our lip gloss era. And I didn't know there was an era. I thought it was like
It's
if
now a
Vaseline.
lip liner,
Yeah.
actually. Lip liner, lipstick, lip gloss combo. So
All three?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. As far as I know, because
Yeah.
me, I'm also sometimes
Yeah.
a little bit behind. But as far as I see on TikTok, yeah.
Brenda, show me Vaseline, my scat. Vaseline. You can never go wrong.
The number
Please.
one that never let you down ever since
Always.
birth.
Listen, love it on every part of my skin. Every part of my skin. Okay, what's next?
Cool. Okay, so the lipstick.
Okay, to go with our lip gloss, you see?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What's this? Extremely Dry Skin Rescue
Hand cream.
hand cream because my hands get really dry.
So you were saying off camera that you've moved from Ekonle, King William Sound,
Yeah,
and you were in Joburg and you found it quite dry.
very.
Yeah,
very.
I
My
used-
nose was dry. Luckily, my skin wasn't too dry.
Yeah.
But like it was a transition. Like my body was like, what's going on?
Are you finding
It's
it better
cold.
now?
Definitely. 3
Yeah.
years later, I think I'm getting there.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the cold fronts are not cold fronting like they used to.
No, and it's also like, okay, actually no, let me not say that.
We'll get the secrets out later.
Please cut that out. Mom, don't watch.
What's next?
Okay, so I also have silicone for my hair so that I don't have flyaways.
Oh, okay. She's prepared,
Um,
Auntie. Okay.
It's basically a makeup bag.
Yeah, really.
I have a powder, pressed
Okay.
powder. Tissues because I'm also just a girl and I
Yeah.
might just cry at any given
Oh,
moment.
just a girl.
The lip liner,
To go with
For
our
our
lip tip and
conversation.
okay.
Gum.
Yeah, because
It's just it's a
know,
must-have.
yeah.
And then my house keys.
because you need to at least get into the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not
it's
going
sort
to
of
climb over
important.
the fence.
Yeah, I mean we could, but it just wouldn't look good, and the neighbors
Who
might have
has-
something
who
to
has
say
time
about
for
it.
that?
Well, Brenda, your bag just says to me that you're a girl who really likes looking good, and that you've got the trifecta of lipstick, lip gloss, and lip liner. Aye, guys, we're gonna do a tutorial when we come back. Okay, Brenda. So, apart from you having a very interesting lip coloring regime, you were a global social media campaign manager. Like, you understand the world of social media very well. In your opinion, what has made or maybe let's go back one step, we see lots of campaigns on the timeline. They're beautiful and they're interesting and they're fun. But there's sometimes we just go, this campaign doesn't feel like it was well, it's
working.
working, it was
Yeah.
well thought through. In your idea, what is the most common cause for those like, "Hey, maranga take right like campaign man?"
There are a number of factors that can ruin a campaign, right?
Yeah.
But I think one of the main causes is that there's no alignment with what your strategy and your insight is and what the outcome of your big creative idea is, right?
Okay.
If there's a disconnect from what your big idea is and it launches and it doesn't land, it's because it's not reaching the audience based off the correct insights. Like, what does your audience want to see, right? And I think when there's that disconnect, nobody's interested.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to listen. It could actually break your brand as well.
Yeah.
And so I think that's actually one of the bigger factors. And I think sometimes, because I have also been on the back end, being a creative,
Yeah.
sometimes you fall in love with an idea and that becomes the bigger thing. That becomes the thing that you focus on and you forget what the insights are,
Yeah.
who your audience is. And so I think, it's so important to be able to, and sometimes it's tough, but it's important to be able to put those two together, use your insights to guide you, know who your audience is, and then make sure that that ties in with your big idea.
But see, brands don't seem to pay a lot of attention to. First of all, the marketing world is seen like the red-headed stepchild, right? No one wants to deal with it. There's no real bottom line. We don't know how you quantify if a campaign has worked or hasn't worked. I mean, we can find ways of doing it, but for the normal business manager, CEO, MD, head of finance, you just go, we're doing this thing because we have to do it. Like, where do they get the insights from? I feel like there's a really big issue at like inception where, from a strategy point of view, they just don't seem to be rooted in the real world.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I have an idea because I saw something or I saw something on my timeline or whatever, and I'm like,
wanna
oh,
do
let's
it.
go do it. Guys, we're going to do this.
That's the greatest thing.
Yeah.
We have to do it. Yeah. What's your question tied to
So-
that? Like how?
So how you were saying that there's a disconnect between the insights and then and falling in love with the idea and then
Yeah.
actually knowing what the big creative at the end must be.
Yeah.
But where are they getting the insights from? I think that's where the issue is.
Yeah.
Like where are they getting the data from or not getting it from?
Okay, so I mean, I think within agency, I've learned and through my experience, data comes from qualitative and quantitative research, right?
okay.
One of my previous agencies, we actually used to do analytics where, yes, you pull it from the likes of a social listening tool, you see what's happening, you see what's trending. But at the same time, we would actually run actual immersions into the audience or like just do like a test. What do you call them?
Like a sample.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a group of people test a product. What do you think about it? Honest opinion, right? But also talking to people on the street. Where, like, when you think of this, or when you think of this brand, what do you think? And that's like that qualitative insight. Because yes, as much as data can be pulled on a laptop,
Yeah.
laptop research.
Yeah.
You need to have those real life interactions, real life research to hear what people are actually saying, because that could be so misaligned. Just desktop research alone, I don't think is enough
Yeah.
to drive credible insights.
And I think because of how complicated the world has become and how complicated the people who are interacting with our products are, right? That you need such deeper level of understanding of who you're talking to, because it's not only a demographic. I remember days where we used to do an LSM. Oh, LSMs were so easy. If you had a DSTV subscription, your LSM 6 immediately. We didn't have to.
Yeah.
Now,
You know who you're targeting.
Exactly. And now we've got, you've got you be living in an informal settlement, having a smartphone.
Yes.
Those
Those intricacies, like, do they have a smartphone? Do they not have a smartphone? How much time are they on TikTok? Like, shockingly, they'll be on TikTok.
Yeah.
You think they're not. I know this might be a concept that people don't understand, but like, all those intricacies, you need to understand that. So you're right. It's no longer just a single group that you're targeting
Yeah.
to. There are so many different, I want to say, niches or groups of people that you have to target to.
which makes our work a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, like, how am I going to, who am I, who
Yeah.
is my audience?
Yeah, and
You know,
I find that what that does is that it also means that the brands have to be very deliberate about how they then implement like their strategies, and even having a strategy is no longer like a nice to have now. You need to have actual
Yeah.
deep strategic thinking that goes into it. Let's talk about influencers.
Okay.
Are we ready? Yeah. So so many times you see that the idea actually might have been well ideated, might have been well put together, and there's strategy behind it, but there's just a very bad influencer selection, especially in campaigns that rely on an influencer.
Yes.
How common is this misstep? I mean, how does it, and maybe would it affect, a campaign or a brand to have the incorrect influence on a brand?
I mean, I think one of the things the downsides of that is that you're not going to reach your audience,
Yeah.
the correct audience, right? Sometimes as campaign managers or even influencer agencies, they become so, I want to say, closely tied or closely tied to certain influencers, or also influencers who are currently, big.
Yeah.
But as big as you are, you might not have my audience in your following. And so when you're measuring or trying to decide who you're going to use as your influencer, you need to be very, I want to say, you need to do your research.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in getting somebody with 1 million followers, but only 20% of your followers is actually who I'm trying to target.
Yep.
You rather take somebody who has, for example, 100K followers and 90% of my audience is within your following. So you need to be specific. It's not just about who's trending right now. It has to align with your brand and be authentic. And you have to kind of measure and see who their audience really is, who they resonate with.
And it's all about building communities, right? And some communities are very complicated.
Yes.
And you might think that, you speak to my community, but you'll find it like I found even in my own like social media work that I used to think that I resonate with like the guy all the time. Like, listen, I got a gym. No.
Yeah.
I want you to know that 85% of my following is women
Yeah.
over 30. I'm thinking, this is the one to have. They're like, no, you're talking to the wrong people.
Yeah.
Chat to me about maybe a campaign that you've worked on where you've seen like that disconnect happen and sort of what was the cause of that. Respectfully, we're not naming people.
I was about to say, are we naming people? Are we naming brands?
No, we're not going to name brands because we
people, no
don't
brands.
have. How is our liability cover? Are we? Oh, okay. Apparently, we don't have much.
So I have recently, I think last year, I worked on a campaign. A number of campaigns, right?
Oh yeah,
and we
I like
worked
this tea.
with,
Let me sit well.
We worked with quite a few influencers, and again, we're not putting any names. But we had a, I want to say, influencer agency.
Yeah.
Right, and as I was saying earlier, sometimes we get so locked in, or we create these relationships with certain influencers that you always want to use them because they are, they're in the limelight, they have following, but not for that product, maybe not for that product, you know. And we actually experienced some backlash from one of the selected influencers because I don't know how to explain it without
giving away
giving
the tea.
things, but it was a case of, let me rather just give what the feedback people were saying. Why is so and so selling me this?
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust this person to tell me this.
Oh snap!
And it was blatant. It wasn't even like code. It's like, you think I'm gonna take in like
advice from that
this person?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a bit of like PR damage control that needed to be done. It wasn't like, it didn't break the influencer's I want to say brand.
Yeah.
But that's where you can see, like, you have to be you have to do your research.
Yeah.
You have to know the audience, right? And because I feel I kind of felt for that influencer as well, because yes, they probably thought this would be a great opportunity for them as well, but the way that their followers took it was like not good. And so obviously that not fully deteriorated trust, but they're like, you're just now trying to sell things to us.
Is it because the what the influencer was known for by their community was very,
wasn't what the product that they were selling was not, yes, they did use it.
Yeah.
But they were not a professional in that space.
Oh,
so to give
yes.
advice in that space was like, you're just trying to
Not
sell
from
me
you,
something.
ma'am.
Not from you. I love you, but I'm not going to buy that.
And in your opinion, and I know we're deviating a bit from our conversation, but do you find that audiences, and I think this is what brands are really struggling to understand, that audiences are really, really smart now, right? I make the example all the time where I'm not a photographer. I don't know how to describe the composition of a photograph, right? But I know a photograph that's crisp and clean. And I know when I'm like, this one was taken on a very low-grade phone or whatever. And I might not be able to articulate what the word is, but
you can tell.
But I can tell.
Yeah.
In the same way with a campaign, they'll go, we're not sure what we don't like about this,
But conte off.
Conte off, man, you
Something is
know.
not
Do you think that
right.
the brands are missing the point that they might not be professionals here, but they'll go, not that one.
Yeah, I think it just the thing about influencing, right? And because we're now so aware as the public of what influencing is,
Yeah.
we can dissect and be like, no, this person doesn't align with this brand.
Yeah.
So and like it comes back to that thing of you have to be so specific about who you're selecting and if it aligns with your brand, but also is it authentic to that person's content? Like are you gonna sell me like you're a makeup artist but you're selling me cars? What is that's so off, right? So yeah, I'm not sure if that answers your question.
It really
but,
does.
like,
And I think what we've done also is that because as content creators, we're looking to get the bag, we sometimes go, whatever shape or form the bag comes in, I'll grab it. And
but that's in the sorry to interrupt you,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
in the long term, that is not good for your brand because now you just look like a. Yes, okay, I'm all for getting your bag
Yeah.
because life is nice when you
With
get
a
the
bag.
bag, but you become perceived as somebody who will just say yes to anything. You have no real, you don't have conviction in your brand.
Yeah.
You're literally just saying yes to anything, and so you become somebody that I don't trust in. I lose my you lose the influence you have over me. So I think down the road, it will be detrimental to them.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with you. I think you need to be so careful about the brands you take, and sometimes saying no to a campaign
Yeah.
will actually do better for you in the long run.
term,
Yeah,
yeah.
in the long run. Still in studio with Brenda. We'll have a lot more to talk about when we come back on the other side of this because, yeah, the tea, she's getting hotter and hotter. Welcome back. You're still with the Business of Influence podcast brought to you by Style ID Africa. I'm still Leroy Mark, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell a friend that we're in the timeline. Still in studio with Brenda, chatting all things about campaigns that have flopped and some that have flown. And now, Brenda, I like the idea that we're chatting about, right? That we say, okay, brands are doing this whole thing where they're trying to be in the mix and they're doing very well and they're not doing strategy, but sometimes they miss it. It's the wrong people in the room. Do you think sometimes the data, the insights you were talking about are sometimes ignored in favor of the aesthetics, the vibe? Because sometimes you can see that, okay, it's not going to work, but because that influencer brings the vibe,
Yes.
that brings the aesthetic, they still go with it.
Yes, I think that does happen. And like we were talking about earlier, sometimes you get so invested in the big idea. You're like, yes, I love this so much that the insight is forgotten. And yeah, I think it really makes the audience question, like, what is going on here? Because I'm seeing this influence, but what are they telling me? What are you actually like?
Yeah.
What are you selling me? What are you, and it's unfortunate because if you do have the budget for the influencer, it could be something great.
Yeah.
But if you miss that data, if you don't use that insight, then it's gonna fall flat, right?
Some brands will say to you, Brenda, that everyone is using this person, right? Or using this kind of content. So I'll give you an example that I see, which is driving me insane. You'll see like the social media managers on X/Twitter will want to clap back.
Yes.
Right, you'll see like a brand like want to clap back against another brand because in the US we saw Mr. D,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald's, and Wendy's
Burger
and
King, all of
Popeye
them,
all
yeah.
like fighting each other, and so they want to get on that whole thing.
Yes.
Recently, a South African bank tried to do that, and someone's like, "Not you,
Yeah.
not from a bank."
I think there was a term I used to call it, but it's just not coming to me right now. It was cultural something.
Yeah.
It'll come to me. But yes, you do want to be culturally relevant because that builds your brand in a relevant kind of way, right? But you need to know the instances that you need to participate. There's no like you're saying this bank participated and you're like, why are you here? Why are
Because
you
I want my bank to be funny, guys. Play
Like,
with my money.
yeah.
Don't be funny with my money.
Don't make jokes. You're supposed to look at my savings. Like, what's
Exactly.
going on? But you need to be aware of, and you need to be knowledgeable enough about your brand. What do we stand for? What is our tone? And then discern: is this an area? Is this a topic we'd like to
Yeah.
participate in? And then sometimes, honestly, there are, from my experience, there are instances where you could participate, but then the heads of heads are like, oh, let's play it safe. And sometimes that's unfortunate because, there is opportunity to build your brand by engaging that way. But again, you just need to know when
Yeah.
you need to participate. You need to know your tone. You need to know, as I mentioned, like all of those things, so that there's no people in the comments saying, "Why are you here?"
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was so weird, guys. People were like,
This is
so,
not your
Mr. Bank,
conversation.
savings, please, we'll be dealing with. Chat to me about the timing. From South Africa is really interesting because from a cultural point of view, we've got so many things always in the air all the time.
Always trending. Always something.
Somebody's boyfriend, somebody's girlfriend is always trending. And for me, I always wonder, from a cultural nuance point of view, how important is making sure that you get the timing right? Because we've had instances where you go, yo, sissy, hey, not now. This is not the
yes,
time.
yeah.
We're dealing with a particular issue, a particular moment. Can we just hold off?
Look, it's so important because that, like, if you do that kind of thing as an influencer or as a brand, people start to view you as like culturally unaware. You don't know what's going on, and it's like, do you even care? Like, it poses those questions, right? And so, like you mentioned, there's always something going on, and so you need to be aware of that. And that's also why, like, not only community managers, just everybody involved needs to be aware of what the landscape is. You need to keep up to date with that kind of thing. So
Absolutely.
yeah, timing is very important. You can't post anything willy-nilly. Gandhi, there's something sensitive happening. It makes your brand look insensitive, and again, that lowers my my trust of you as a brand, as an influencer. So it's very important to get your timing right, to be aware.
Let's go back to this cultural turn. Have you seen instances where, a campaign really does well without going big on the budget because they've really nailed the cultural turn? Like, I've come to realize that some brands have bought themselves the equity, like the goodwill,
Yes.
We know them. There's a famous chicken one. You know what I'm talking about. There's the one that the very dry cider. They get it.
Yes.
They get it because they bought themselves the brand equity, because culturally they know how to nail the business. So have you seen that happen in the industry where you go, dog, you hit it?
I have, but I can't pinpoint any. There's nothing that's really coming to mind right now. My brain is blanking. I won't lie to you. But there are, like you mentioned, there are instances where you don't need that big budget to execute something that's culturally relevant, or, like, I want to say, resonates with your audience. It's very possible. You don't need, and I know also coming from I come from a creative background as well. So it's like, you always dream of that big budget. You wish the brands would sign off on your extravagant, ideas. But sometimes it's not always about the budget. It's about the impact and the relevance of what you're doing. So
I love that you talk about impact, because I think we can reverse engineer some wins for those flopped campaigns, right? And if we just look at some of the ones that maybe, let's use the bank one, for instance, that went a little awry. What are some of the learnings that we can pull? Like, if we're really now creating a checklist of what not to do and to learn from that. In your opinion, some of the things that brands must really look at so that we don't find ourselves replicating this thing over and over again, these failures.
Just so I understand the question, you a checklist to check when we're trying to.
So now that
engage?
we've seen the flops, right? Because
Yeah.
you and I have both seen the flops in the industry of some of the campaigns that have gone the wrong way. What can we say to brands now to say, okay, this is what we've experienced. Don't do this.
Okay.
I'll start us off.
Okay.
I really feel like what brands forget to do is to realize that you need to have more faces and voices in the room that are very different.
Yes.
Because what a black female from Konge resonates with is very different from, like, a black female from KZN.
Yes.
And sometimes we make the mistake of offending people because there weren't enough people in the room to go brew
with a different insight.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, no, I hear you. I think, and funny enough, I won't name. Why am I spilling everything?
Can we not dip into the legal cover?
But okay, no names.
Yeah,
I'll make an example, because and what you're saying is right. I think that's one of the bigger aspects or checklist items that brands should be doing. But funny enough, I think it was maybe 2 years ago. We did a campaign well, it was like a 360 thing. There were
Yeah.
different partners. There's a media partner, creative agency, lead
Oof.
digital.
The whole family.
Yeah, so many people involved, right? And so yes, there were, I want to say, a lot of people in the room who are able to give that input. And there was just something that, like, I'm trying to find my words so that I don't.
Bite yourself.
Yeah. So there was an instance where we were reviewing a campaign, right? And this was the first time. There was a second time this happened as well. But we had, sorry, my team and I had seen the campaign, the proposal of the creative. We weren't lead creative on this, but we were coming in from a digital perspective,
Okay.
right? But obviously we were going to give input. And there was we just did not align. We were like, this is not what this means. You guys think you can make it mean this thing, but
But
in
it doesn't
another
work that
culture,
way.
it doesn't. It
Oh,
means
so it was
something else.
So culturally even.
Yes.
Oh.
Or yeah, culturally, I would like to say maybe that's the word, but I was like, it means a different thing. It wasn't a bad thing, but I'm like, if somebody were to hear it from this culture, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? This
Yeah, I get
doesn't
you.
make sense.
Mm.
And so that was a red flag, and we flagged it. We were like, guys, this doesn't make sense. That was the first time around. Cool. Everybody was like, okay, cool, we'll take away. These are actionables. Came to another meeting. I think I wasn't involved in all the meetings.
Okay.
Came in later on. And I was like, Ganti, we're still using this thing.
Did we not?
How?
Did I not? Did we not? Okay.
Did a few of us raised our flags here, like, so you guys are deciding that we're going with this, and they went with it. And look, there wasn't major backlash, but I think there was a lot of confusion as to like, this word means this. How are you trying to make it mean this? You're trying to. I think they were trying to reimagine what that word meant.
Yeah.
But it already had a meaning. And so that was so difficult to take away from the people that already knew what that meant. And so I think that's, when you spoke about, the checklist of having everybody in the room, sometimes everybody is in the room, but
You're not listening in
people
the
don't
room.
listen.
You're not listening in
Sometimes
the
you don't,
room.
I don't know if it's because our voices don't have that much weight.
Yeah.
But we flagged it, so if it drops,
Listen, we spoke.
I'm not pointing fingers, but
You did it.
But yeah, just from my experience, right? But as you said, it's so important to have an array of people in the room to flag, to be able to say, guys,
Just
this
not
is
working.
not it. Yeah.
Brenda, as we wrap up, and you've been really insightful because I think we sometimes shy away when things don't work out,
Yeah.
and we want to sort of cry and scream
Hi.
and hi. But I think you've made a really interesting point. I think my parting shot is, what should we do as agencies, as a creative industry, as a digital industry, around openly discussing the flops that campaigns have done, so that we don't replicate them. I think people think that if something goes wrong with a campaign, the damage is minimal. I always make the example that if a bank loses R1 million, it's the bank, they've got lots more, but there's no real damage.
Yeah.
But if a spaza shop loses R1 million, is real damage. People think that because we're not real, our industry is just creative. But as you've said, it impacts how it might look culturally. It might offend people in multiple demographics in the Rainbow Nation. How do we discuss these flops, or what would your thoughts around how do we go, okay guys, this is what happened on our campaign, here's the takeaways, the transparency which I think is lacking.
Look, transparency and that comes with the word accountability, because like you said, what is the point of shying away from the mistakes? Because within your mistakes there's always a learning, and that sounds so cliche, but it's the truth.
True,
right? I think it's so important to, after post-campaign, you have a post-mortem, meet up with everybody involved, 360. And obviously you're in charge of certain things. It's important for you to analyze what we did great, like what are our wins. It's also important to highlight your wins, but also what are our losses, or like what didn't we do well. And I think the transparency and the open conversation around that can only mean better work going forward. Because if you hide from that, if you don't point it out, I mean, and there are nice ways to point things out. There's no pointing. You don't have to point fingers, but have a discussion, guys. We didn't do this correctly. I think the learning from here is this. I think so. There's a saying: the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome.
Absolutely.
Right? So there's no point in not taking any of your learnings, anything you did wrong or could have done better, and applying that to a new campaign. If you just keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same outcomes, right? So I think it's so important. And I think, it's important to have those conversations because how else are you going to get better?
And I said last question, but last question. How do we get as agencies, as the intermediaries between clients and influencers and the audience, really, how do we then speak to clients without losing the next brief? How do we put it so that we say, honeys, you flopped, but you know what, it's not that bad.
Look, I will say there are instances when you flop and sometimes you will lose that business. It is coming from an agency background, it can be do or die sometimes. But I think it's all in the relationship that you build with that brand. And with that being said, when it comes to discussing these flops or, like I mentioned, I don't want to say point fingers, but I think, again, accountability and be like, guys, let's be honest, we didn't do this. Our KPI was this. We did this. How can we work to do things better? How do we? It's not of a you thing.
It's collective.
I think it's collaboration. We're working together to make this brand great, right? So it's not about pointing fingers. There is always a good way to approach situations, and just openly talk about it, because how else are you going to get better?
Yeah. And for us to make bank, we need to make mistakes and then learn from them. Because the whole point of this podcast, Brenda, is we're trying to establish a median standard where we can come back and look at the conversations we need to have, how we have them, who needs to be spoken to, how we entrench accountability and make the industry work better for us. I think there's so many spaces where we know we've done wrong. We know we should have done things differently, but we don't go and speak about them because there's actually never a platform for us to be able to have those conversations. So I must thank you very much for coming through and sharing your insights. And then I want the names of those brands we were talking about earlier on, so that legal doesn't shout at us, but we'll talk about it off camera. And I really appreciate the insights. I think for me the big takeaway here is our data and our insights need to be quantitative, qualitative. Once you go out and actually make sure that we do a litmus test of the people we're dealing with, so that even when you do flop, you'll go, actually we flopped closer to what we were thinking of doing. And just flopping, like completely missing the mark completely.
Sure.
So I must thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Look at how
so
beautiful.
fun.
Guys, listen. The business of influence is the business where one fun conversations, have fantastic guests, but more importantly, we share insights about this wonderful world of influencing with you. So come back, tell your friends to like, comment, subscribe, and next week we'll give you something interesting to look at as well. My name is Lyra Mark, and I'll see you next time.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.